Hi, I'm RT Custer from Vortic Watch Company, and we're here at the RT Custer Vortic building at the Veterans Watchmaker Initiative. We just dedicated this building here at the school. If you don't know about the Veterans Watchmaker Initiative, they train U.S. military vets how to become watchmakers. And this building here is now going to be a service center. Once the students graduate from watchmaking school, they can stay here, have a job, and learn how to work on any kind of watch, do restoration work, do after sales service work, obviously warranty repairs, all kinds of stuff on Vortic watches, but all kinds of other watches. Special call out to Chris Vale and NTH Watches for connecting us with here, and also Bulliva Watch Company for donating almost everything that's in this building. So again, here in Odessa, Delaware, for the Veterans Watchmaker Initiative, this is the new Vortic building that I'm proud to say we have our name on, because we've been able to donate and help these vets and give them another shot at a career.
This whole thing started through a conversation with a publisher of a magazine, which is kind of funny. He wanted to send veterans to jewelry stores and have them train them as apprentices to become watchmakers. We had this conversation for off and on for a couple of weeks. And my conclusion was, that won't work. Just won't work. And his response was, why won't it work? I said, well, simply because there's no percentage in it for the jeweler. Once you spend time training someone, there's no guarantee staying. So his response was, well, what do you think? And I said, well, maybe we need to reinvigorate the Bulliva School concept. And he said, well, maybe you should run with that. And that's what we did. We started running with it right away. We started with absolutely nothing. Susan and I got together. She liked the concept, so she helped for a very long time. And we wrote to the largest law firm in New York City and said, we have absolutely nothing. We would like to commit this program, put it together. We need the legal work done, and we have nothing to pay for it. About a week later, they got back to me and said they do all the legal work absolutely free. And that was Simpson, Thatcher, and Bartlett. They did all the articles of incorporation, the 501c3 filings, everything. We didn't pay a dime, thanks to them. So we were able to set up the corporation and begin the work of building what would be the new generation of the Bulliva School. I was very lucky. I was very lucky how this worked out. Anyway, we traveled around, I did, averaging 40,000 miles a year, state to state, looking for a place, various schools, various states, from Colton, South Carolina, to Maytown, Pennsylvania, to Chickasha, Pennsylvania, and I'm sure you know those places. Finally stumbling on this building here, boarded up and looking pretty forlorn. And after weeks and weeks and weeks of trying to find out who owned it, I was able to reach someone with Newcastle County government who said, you want to do what with it? I said, well, I'd like to make a watch school here. I said, it was a fire station. It was an ambulance station. I said, well, could I see it? Could we talk about it? So he calls me on a rainy morning and says, can you come over today? Which was perfect for me because I wanted to see if the building leaked. And it didn't. But anyway, he opened the one door that I could get in here. There were garage doors out back at the time. And this place was a disaster. Holes in the walls. That one wall in there didn't exist. There was a giant hole in this wall right here by the Wall of Honor. The floors had been stripped. All the tile had been taken up because of the asbestos in the building. And I was basically left with a shell. And I pitched to him what I wanted. And he said, well, let me run it by Newcastle County government. And he did. And he said, you have to have a meeting with the county executive and the Newcastle County government, see if they go for this. So we did. We had a long meeting, and they said, okay, you have the building for 20 years for $1 a year, and you can renew it, but we're not doing any repairs. This building didn't even have water when we got it. So I was handed the keys, I want to say August 19th, by Bob Merrill, General Merrill, who works for Newcastle County government. And it was funny because I started that day. I cut down all the weeds out of the front. He calls me like a week later and said, we're sending out a crew to cut down the weeds. I said, that's all done. Forget about that. It's all done. And we started. I started in that room rebuilding the walls, taking all the garbage out of the building. And I was doing a peach festival that year, and that year I ran into Mike. And he said, well, if you need me for something, give me a call. And I did, and he's been here ever since. That's why he's on that wall of honor, because there isn't a piece in this building and the building next door that he hadn't had his hands on. And he's as committed to this as I am to it. So we built it, we put it together, and all the people that have been donors ever since have outfitted it. All the things that you see in this room are donated by different companies, different people. The big clock, the Hershey on the right there, is from Case Western Reserve University. This is from a Navy veteran. The showcases are from George Washington University. The carpet you're walking on is from George Washington University. All the tools were donated by Mr. Driscoll, who was an appraiser from Florida who wanted to have these things here, which I appreciate, and they are here and they will continue here. And we were able to get the money. In the center of the Wall of Honor is a plaque. All the veterans on that plaque are gone. They were World War II veterans. And when the last of them passed away, they gave us $50,000 to get the project underway. So that's why they have the highest honor position in the whole wall. And 9/12, 4 years ago, we started with equipment I'd had in storage, and we finally put this whole thing together. So would you like to see some more? In the horology lab in here, this is where we test the prospective students. All the ones that come through here, they have to be tested to see if they can do it. And if they can do it, then they come into the program. The veterans that come here, I look for one thing only. I look for passion. I don't care if they have any technical skill, any mechanical background. None of that makes any difference to me. If they sit here and can perform this work, which is very difficult for someone to sit down and do it when they've never done it before, and power through it and fight through it to get it done, that's the person I want for the class. And I do about, before pre-COVID, I was doing anywhere between 30 and 40 tests a month. And of those, I'll maybe take 2 or 3, and then the final test we find out, okay, we have 1 left. And they go into the quartz course. But this becomes, in no uncertain terms, this is a second chance for a lot of these guys. We find that they've been, for lack of a better term, forgotten by the system. And they come here with this costs nothing. You don't charge us to come here. There's no VA benefits because I used them in community college, and that didn't work out for me. I said, no. If you get through the testing, you come here for free, and none of it costs you nothing to do anything. So I've been very, very lucky. The first class was phenomenal. I only lost 1 person. And I've been very blessed with these guys. The next class was incredible. The next class coming is even more incredible. We have students that are coming from Maine, Washington State, California, Nevada, Arkansas, Virginia, and Florida, I think. 9 in the next class. And it's interesting that one of the students who was a Navy vet, and it's kind of a little aside, it's kind of cute. He grew up in such a small town that the state of, I'm not going to say the state, but the state said you can make your own high school diploma. So he painted a watercolor picture of his pickup truck. And that was his high school diploma, with him dancing a picture of his mother on that, and the state stamping it as official. Because he sent it to me, and I said, this can't be real. He said, yeah, it's real. So he had 3 people in his graduating class, which was very funny. His mom and dad were both veterans. He was a Navy veteran. His dad was killed. And this kid is perfect for this school. Nothing fits for a lot of these guys when they come back, and that's what we try to do. We try to give them a home, and it's where they can feel comfortable, maybe for the first time in a long time. So for that, I'm very grateful. I'm lucky to be, I guess, shepherding all this, and I'm grateful that they believe in me enough to try to stand by me and make this happen. So anyway, as we continue the tour, benches designed by us, made with American rock maple from Pennsylvania. Elevate and descend electrically. Will handle any type of chair, sport chair, wheelchair, track chair, no problem. Thanks to Mike, every bench in the building has air and vacuum. All the cabinets you see are from George Washington University. We have 2 laser welders for the school. They're donated by one of the largest jewelry chains in the world. They prefer not for me to mention their name, so that's fine. And equipment comes and donations come all the time for this school. And people are very happy to see this happen. So we'll continue now. We'll go around to the library. The library is kind of interesting because there's things are always being moved, so it's always disheveled. Disheveled. That's a good word. We have technical documents from virtually everything that's ever been made at one time or another, things that don't exist anymore. And I named it after the gentleman who actually got me started in watchmaking. We call this the Julian Jackson Smith Memorial Library. Jack gave me my first little box of tools with 3 screwdrivers, 1 pair of tweezers, and an eye loop, and told me, if you want to be a watchmaker, you can start with that. Jack was actually a graduate of the Bulliva School, and we had stayed friends for the 30 years that I was involved in this. And he just passed recently, and he wanted me to come down and make sure that all his things went to the right people, and I took care of that for him. That was a real honor for me to do that. But Jack will live on here at the school for as long as this school exists. So the students they avail themselves of this all the time. We have anything they need here. And I prefer them to have a technical document before they do any type of work. So we'll continue on here to the kitchen, which is most of their favorite rooms. They like to come here and eat, which they do frequently. Now when we walk from the kitchen into this next part, this was actually the original 2-bay ambulance garage when ambulances were still station wagons. So that's why this is kind of smaller than it used to be. But in here was our first classroom. We trained the first 6 students in here. Russo was one of the graduates. In this room is microscope cameras, the same type of benches. They can see anything that we do. Don is one of my graduates. He's working here too. He is eventually going to be an instructor here. Most of the equipment that you see, virtually all of it, has been donated by Swatch Group, different companies in the industry to make sure that we have what we need to keep this as close to state-of-the-art as possible. And they've kind of taken this room over for a while, and it's okay. You learning? Good. The back part, as we continue on, the lockers were also donated by George Washington University. We stop here because there used to be a lavatory here and a shower for the firemen. We took that out, we took the wall out, and we built the ramp for the wheelchair folks. Now, starting right here, basically this was a storage room. And because of the work that Mike did in this room, this whole area is called the Michael E. Whiff Technical Wing, and the plaque is here to attest to that. And all the folks that helped build this with funding and hands-on work is all right there on the plaque as well. The first room we built was a secondary lab for doing jewelry repair. We're actually still formulating that program together. And what you see was all done by volunteer hands. In the back of the jewelry lab is our polishing room. There are multiple systems in here that do multiple things. We have a passive extractor that we have cleaning machines sitting in right now for when they're doing the watch work. We have a small perillage machine here. All the jewelry polishers are vented outside, and there's an extraction system that starts in here that removes fumes from the main classroom. And as we go over into the horology lab, this is our big classroom. We handle 9 students in here. We're fully equipped. In here, everything is HDMI. Same basic structure. All have lathes, all have technical equipment that they need, all have the tooling required to do the work. I sit in the back of the classroom doing the presentations. They see them on the screen, and then they replicate the operations. Cabinets you see here, donated by Swatch Group. We've recently been able to acquire one of the, I guess would be considered the plums of the industry, is having a Chablin 70. The Discover Bank people decided they wanted to fund this for us. So I thank them for this. We have our Chablin that'll be set up shortly. And it's fully tooled. With this piece of equipment and one piece of equipment that's in the jewelry lab, there isn't a watch part we can't build. And they're fully tooled with fairly new timing machines, and they sit in here and they work their courses and get them done. That's about it. All the work was done in here by volunteers, everything we built, basically. And Mike and I had fun putting the ceiling in here. That was also donated. So that's it.